TF2 Classified, formerly Classic, is the latest TF2 mod to be officially released on Steam. It's had a long and incredibly rocky history, with version 1.0 having been released way back in December 2014. I had tried Classic here and there a few years ago, and never felt much of a desire to return. But in retrospect, I don't think I'd given the mod a fair chance because I was so massively doomer-pilled at the time. The bots were worse than ever in the base game, with no signs of stopping. And the crashing and burning of similar community endeavors like creators.tf and Faceit were still very fresh in my mind. So I wasn't exactly in the most optimistic mood when trying this mod out. But things have changed a lot over the past 2 years. The bots were mostly fixed, the comics finally got a conclusion, the TF2 SDK was released, MVM's getting official new content for the first time in over a decade. And with Classified now officially on Steam, I think it's the perfect time for me to give this mod another try and answer a very simple question. Is it good? The answer may shock you. So I'll just tell you now, yeah, this shit rules. Let's start with among the most universally praised aspects of Classified, the visuals. I have a few points of criticism that I'll get to later, but on the whole, this mod is pure eye candy. The main menu is perfect. It seamlessly blends the UI design from 2011 TF2 with the layout and animated background from the Xbox, resulting in a look that's modern and clean, yet undoubtedly old-school TF2. And the server browsers received a much-needed glow-up. Classified's verified system is a great idea too. Server owners can get their servers labeled as verified on the browser so long as they don't do any of the usual trashy stuff. No faking ping or player counts, no impersonating other servers, no pay to win. Wait, no sexually explicit content? No hate speech? Look, this may be controversial, but I don't want to see or hear those things when I play TF2. But if you really need to get your daily dose of furry porn and racism, you still can. These rules are only for servers that want to get labeled as verified. Anyone can create their own server and have it show up on the browser. And these servers will only get taken down if some truly heinous shit is happening in there. I just hope people don't start joining servers that aren't verified and assume that means they're allowed to spout their favorite gamer words, because how would you counteract that? Add an N-word pass option to the filters? Seriously though, the devs do need to work towards finding the right balance with those unverified servers. I get you don't want to see references to a certain island on the browser, I really do. But don't give verified servers preferential placement on the browser. Them having that label is enough. Add some sort of warning for joining an unverified server if you want, then let people decide for themselves. Moving on, once you get into a server and start playing, you'll be blown away by just how gorgeous everything looks. They've improved the lighting, textures, particle effects. Like, God, have you seen what fire looks like here? Every map coming in from the base game has been noticeably improved. The difference is night and day. Sometimes literally. There's a lot more maps that take place at night here, which helps the mod further carve out its own identity. In general, there are countless little changes that reinforce this theme of Classified feeling updated and fresh, all without losing that sense of familiarity. Like how consumable items have these little icons over their meters, or the new class portraits. Scout looks a bit off, I don't know why he's so fucking pissed, but all of the other mercs look just like the mercs, but in higher quality. Oh, but speaking of Scout, they gave him his blue pants back. They also gave the Kritzkrieg a more unique model, along with a visually distinct healing beam. Drinking your Scrumpy 3 times in a row makes you drunk for the rest of that life. There's new wacky killbinds. I could go on, but you get the idea. The craziest part is I'm still finding more and more of these little changes. Every time I play, I notice something I hadn't before that makes me think, that's new, I kinda like it. Okay, enough glazing. Let's talk about what I'm sure most of you have been waiting to hear my thoughts on, the new content. Starting with Classified's unique game modes, I love Domination. Please don't take that out of context. It's kind of what territory control was going for, where teams go back and forth capturing points, defending those points, losing those points, and needing to recapture them again. But unlike territory control, which constantly destroyed its own pacing by resetting upon every point cap, domination runs continuously. The round only ends once one team reaches a certain number of points. It should come as no surprise that the only official territory control map, Hydro, was transformed into a domination map where all 4 points are open at once, and it's a lot of fun. Domination perfectly strikes this balance where there's constant action, but it's not like 24/7 Hightower where the total lack of structure turns your brain to mush. You can still feel the ebb and flow of teams making pushes and holding points, but things never settle down into a stalemate because there's so much to do. If you're tired of defending, you can try capping an enemy's point instead, and vice versa. There's also a game mode called Territorial Domination, which seems to function like Powerhouse and Stand-In, except the point you start out defending varies from round to round. Not a fan of this one. It's basically domination, only rounds can potentially end much faster since a team wins as soon as they own all 3 points. I'm also iffy on VIP mode. Famously, this was a real Valve-made game mode in Team Fortress Classic that eventually became Payload in the transition to TF2. And after playing VIP mode in Classified, I can see why Valve dropped the civilian aspect entirely. VIP mode is attack defend with a twist. The only class that can cap points is the civilian, and the attacking team only gets 1, which is randomly selected at the start of the round. As the civilian, you can't do much. Your only actual weapon is your melee, which you can also use to temporarily buff your teammates. That might sound incredibly boring, and I'm sure it is for people that just want a frag, but there is a certain charm to playing civilian. You are the objective. Your team needs you alive and at the point to cap it. Therefore, wherever you go, they go. Even if you have teammates that don't care about the objective, it's still in their best interest to stick close to you, since the civilian also gives passive healing and a 20% damage resistance to all nearby teammates. You're essentially the commander of your team with supreme authority. If you think you should be pushing through a certain choke, go to that choke and your team will follow. If you think your team needs to fall back and regroup, just walk back and your team will follow. It's like playing a multiplayer FPS version of Pikmin. My problem with all of this though, is it's a bit too idealistic. At its best, VIP mode is an incredibly fun and unique game mode. But there's an extremely narrow range of players that make for a good civilian. You don't want any players at the bottom of the scoreboard to be the civilian because chances are they don't have great game sense. I've played games where I'm on blue, and we're spawn camping the enemy for minutes, yet we can't cap because our civilian keeps waddling into danger and dying, possibly because he doesn't even know we can't cap without him. At the same time, you also don't want one of your top fraggers as the civilian, because then all of their mechanical skill goes to waste and your team loses a ton of damage output in the process. The best type of player to be your team civilian is one that has solid game sense and movement, but isn't particularly good at aiming. These players do exist, since what I just said about civilian also applies to another class, medic. And just like with medic, being the civilian when your team's getting rolled is miserable. Like the worst gameplay I've ever experienced in TF2 outside of the bot crisis. Compared to medic, civilian has even less self-defense, and the enemy team is significantly more eager to hunt you down, since killing the civilian gives you a crit boost. In any other game mode, you can shrug your shoulders and give up on the objective as you wait for the round to end and for teams to be scrambled. But if you're the civilian, this isn't an option. You need to be playing the objective because you are the objective. I know there's a setting to avoid becoming the VIP, and I know you can vote to change your team's VIP. But voting doesn't fix the issue, because, again, civilian falls into many of the same pitfalls as medic, only worse. When the civilian keeps dying, everyone wants to blame it on him. And sometimes it's his fault, but other times it's his team's fault for not protecting him. You're not going to be reasonably sure that your civilian sucks until late into the round, at which point it's easier just to wait for the round to end. At least with Medic, if I have a hunch that my team's Medic sucks, I can just go Medic myself. And if I was wrong and that Medic's actually good, no problem. 2 Medics are better than 1, and I can switch off of Medic if I feel like it. Ultimately, VIP mode is extremely hit or miss, and unfortunately, the design choices that cause it to miss are deeply rooted in both the game mode and the civilian as a class. And what could be worse than 1 civilian? 2 civilians. VIP race is exactly what you would expect. It's payload race, but with 2 civilians instead of 2 payload carts. I vastly prefer this over normal VIP mode since there's so many ways you can play it. You can clear the way to the enemy's point, or protect your civilian and help him get to that point, or try to take out the enemy's civilian, or defend your own team's point. I also gotta give a special shout out to the map 2 Bridge, because I've played at least a dozen rounds of it by now, and I had a blast in every single one. I think it's because it has that powerhouse effect, where there's a huge wide open area in the middle, followed immediately by tight choke points on each side. That type of map design goes a long way to facilitating the back and forth tug of war that I love. The last unique game mode is 4-team, which technically isn't a new game mode in and of itself. Basically, some maps operate under a game mode like Arena or Domination or King of the Hill, but now there's 4 teams instead of 2. Playing a 4-team map on your standard 24-player server sucks. You only have up to 5 teammates, and with everyone dying and respawning at different times and having so many paths to take, you're pretty much always going to be running around solo, constantly feeling like you're getting ganged up on. Now, playing 4-team on, say, a 64-player server? Completely different story. It's an absolute clusterfuck. But there's also so many players on your team that you can easily find someone to stick with at any time, anywhere on the map. Hearing the announcer scream over and over about the cart reaching the final terminus on Sisyphus is very funny, though I'll probably get sick of it eventually. My main criticism is that the introduction of Team Piss and Team Weed makes playing 4-team a bit of a mindfuck. It can be hard to tell the difference between all 4 teams at a quick glance, especially in darker lighting. Oh, that's not even— wait, is that green? Okay, I guess it is. I think they should have made the 2 new teams black and white. Boring, but visually distinct from both each other and red and blue. It's too late now though, and I really don't know what they can do to fix this readability issue. They could make the green and yellow more saturated and vibrant, but that would look awful with the game's otherwise muddied color scheme. Let's now move on to arguably the most important aspect of the mod: game balance. Right off the bat, playing without base TF2's most degenerate unlocks has been cathartic. No Wrangler, no Vaccinator, no Kunai, no Flog, no Scorch Shot, etc. Note, this is coming from a sicko that actually likes using the Vaccinator and the Flog, and I don't mourn their removal here. As for the new additions and changes, there are a lot, so I'm just gonna cover the things that I have the strongest opinions on, good or bad. Starting with the good. I love throwing brown bricks with Crapified. Yeah, I know, it's the meme weapon of the mod. I'm not breaking new ground here, but it is genuinely fun. Hitting someone makes this satisfying thud sound, and I like how it knocks them back a bit too. The Harvester is interesting from a balancing perspective. In Classified, everything is balanced relative to the stock weapons, including the stock melees, which Valve had immediately dropped the ball on with their very first batch of unlocks. So how does one make a pyro melee that doesn't automatically outclass the fire axe, without it also being garbage? Well, when a pyro with the Harvester dies, everyone who was lit on fire by that pyro is immediately extinguished. That seems like it'd be more than worth it for the healing that the Harvester provides. But this extinguishing mechanic comes with another, more subtle downside. Enemies, especially enemy scouts, will be much more aggressive towards you. When fighting a pyro, scouts usually don't want to trade deaths if they can help it. If they're on fire and at low health, they'll usually run because they know the pyro can't do much about it. But if that scout sees that the pyro has the Harvester equipped, they've got a much greater incentive to stay and focus on killing the pyro ASAP. The Twin Barrel might just be my favorite unlock in the entire mod. It's essentially the force of nature for pyro, except the horizontal self-knockback is way higher. It's a great mobility tool, but unlike the jetpack in base TF2, it's also a ranged weapon. A crappy one, but it's better than nothing. I've gone on record saying that you're basically required to pair the thermal thruster with the Dragon's Fury if you're against a competent team, not just for the extra range, but also because the DPS of every other flamethrower is abysmal. In Classified, this is not a problem. The flamethrower is insanely strong here. Something that I've been having a blast doing is pairing the twin barrel with the harvester. Once the harvester's meter is full, it'll store one guaranteed crit that heals you for 195 health on hit, including giving you overheal. You can pull off some insane plays with this combo, though your mileage may vary. I just happen to be particularly good at jumping right into an enemy's face and perfectly timing that mouse click. Not sure why, it just feels so familiar to me somehow. Spy is incredibly fun here because Disguises received some major buffs. You can fake a reload at any time simply by pressing R. There's also no more outlines that, in base TF2, give your location away to respawning enemies. And the total lack of cosmetics makes it way easier to blend in with the crowd. The big change with Spy, though, is the addition of the Spy Walk. Hold down shift at any time to run at normal spy speed, regardless of your disguise. If you manage to fool an enemy by disguising as a slower class, you can catch up to them for a backstab as soon as they walk by. The Cyclops is a beauty. It's the grenade launcher LARPing as the detonator. It only has one grenade per clip, but like the detonator, you can choose when it explodes. As someone that's spent God knows how many hours mastering the detonator, the Cyclops fits onto my demo loadout like a glove. It even has the detonator's bonus effect of destroying enemy stickies. There's also this combo you can do, where you throw the dynamite pack, which briefly slows enemies down on direct hit, then hit them with the Cyclops to explode everything at once and deal massive damage. Really, my only complaint is the sound design. The constant beeping of the Cyclops' grenade is awful. Either make it way quieter or remove it outright. Now, the Rejuvenator is a weapon that I had immediately fallen in love with. It's like the Crusader's crossbow, Vaccinator, and Amputator all mashed together. Instead of a healing beam, it shoots healing grenades, meaning you have to actually aim to heal teammates. The grenades then explode, letting you heal multiple people at once. The Uber builds incredibly quickly, and once popped, you'll throw down this big bubble onto the ground that makes it so any teammate that steps inside becomes Ubered. I love how you can even Uber yourself and get some kills with your melee or the syringe gun, which by the way was buffed to be more accurate and reload a bit faster. It's like this unlock was made for me. It combines everything I love about playing Medic in base TF2 into a single weapon, without making the enemy team wanna rip their hair out. But the honeymoon phase is over, and I've started to notice some of the Rejuvenator's flaws. First, it's an Overwatch weapon, and Overwatch bad. Okay, that's not an actual flaw, but I had to get that in somewhere. No, first is the visuals. They're terrible. The particles are too opaque, and there's too many of them. It reminds me of the original Cowmangler, so take a page out of Valve's book and scale the visual noise way back. I was also a bit disappointed when I realized I don't need to land direct hits on teammates. Doing so will maximize your healing and Uber rates, but you can still get a lot out of just shooting the floor. What I love about the Crusader's crossbow is how it's all or nothing. Either you hit and get a massive burst of healing with that sweet sound effect, or you miss and get nothing. With the Rejuvenator, you either hit and get a good amount of healing and Uber, or miss and still get a pretty good amount of healing and Uber if you were aiming at the ground. I know it's in my best interest to aim at my teammates, but there's no clear, immediate feedback. Landing a direct doesn't feel special or important. The sound effect does vary depending on whether you land a direct or not, but it's extremely subtle. Chances are, you're not going to be able to tell the difference in the middle of a game, so I think the sound effect for landing a direct should be much more distinct. That alone would go a long way to making the Rejuvenator feel more satisfying and rewarding to get good with. As for the Uber, it's taken me a while to figure out how to best use it, but I think I get it now. At first, I thought the Uber was counterintuitive. It's great for quickly patching a hole in your defenses, but pretty bad at pushing into an enemy nest unless it happens to be right around the corner. If you put too much distance between your team and the bubble, they'll die before they can reach it. But if you drop the bubble too close, you won't be putting out much damage due to damage falloff. Basically, the quick fix all over again. A medigun that on paper is designed for offense, but its Uber is best on defense. But then I realized something. When using the Rejuvenator, I kept holding my Uber like I would with stock, giving the enemy plenty of time to group up and set up a nest that I wouldn't be able to break. I should have been treating its Uber more like the Vaccinators. Spam that shit. Keep disrupting the enemy and forcing them to back up to prevent them from getting fully established. And sure enough, I saw a lot more success after playing in this new way. So those were the main things I've been enjoying playing with the most. But on the flip side, what have I been hating playing against the most? Honestly, not much. When Classified first released on Steam, there was one unlock that pretty much everyone could agree was way too strong, the Mine Layer. Not only does its mines deal the same damage as stickies while detonating automatically, but originally, it shot faster and further than stock. It was disgusting. You could easily top score by randomly chucking mines into a choke. That's since been addressed in an update that nerfed the Mine Layer's spammability. But even now, I think the concept of sticky traps that automatically detonate for you is inherently flawed. I'm not at all saying that the Mine Layer is overpowered. Everything it can do, the stock Sticky Bomb Launcher does better, so long as you're willing to use some brain cells. It's just kinda lame to play against, on par with something like mini sentries. The Tranquilizer gun looks horrible to fight against. Getting hit by it leaves you colorblind, lowers your move speed by 20%, lowers your non-melee damage by 30%, makes you take guaranteed crits from melee. Basically, the TF2 equivalent of this. But it's actually pretty manageable because the effect only lasts for a few seconds. There haven't been many times where I die because I got hit by the Trank gun. And even then, most of those times were the spy finishing me off with a crit butter knife, which is on me for not killing him sooner. The unlock that has the most amount of people raising their eyebrows is definitely the Hunting Revolver. You can shit out headshots much faster, but each of those headshots are weaker. Basically, every quickscoper's wet dream. And I don't know how to feel about it. Or I do know how I feel, but I don't know how much of it has to do with this particular weapon design. Personally, in my opinion, I think Sniper is fundamentally cancerous, and I'd prefer TF2 if he was gone. Except you can stay. So when I'm playing against a Hunting Revolver Sniper, I'm thinking, wow, I'd be having a lot more fun if this guy wasn't here. But I'd be feeling the same way if he was using the stock sniper rifle. If I had to pick one to fight against though, it'd probably be the Hunting Revolver. It's quite nice playing heavy and not instantly getting deleted from a single charged headshot. I do think the plus 25 health is overkill though. That should be removed. Or, just remove Sniper entirely. Classified isn't perfect. It's a little rough around the edges. I'm not in love with all of the new game modes or all of the new weapons. There's a good number of weapons that I find myself missing. In spite of that, I, Lister, TF2 YouTuber man, don't feel ready to return to base TF2 quite yet, because there's one more area I haven't talked about that Classified excels in. I don't think I'm alone here when I say that the vibes in Classified are immaculate. Playing this mod, to me and many others, feels more fun somehow. I find myself cracking a smile way more and getting annoyed way less here than in the base game. It'd be easy to say this is due to Classified using pre-casual server settings. Map timers, freely switching teams, ad hoc connections, team scrambles, it's all there, and it's all amazing. But these can also be found in most of base TF2's community servers. If these settings really were the source of the magic, Classified would be nothing but a novelty to me. I'd play a bit to mess around with the new weapons and game modes, then return to my community server of choice in the base game. Hey, don't get it twisted, I'm not a furry, but the Furry Pound is legitimately great. Just make sure you have sprays disabled. So what's the secret sauce that's making classified servers have more, dare I say, soul? It's a combination of things. Like not seeing gaudy cosmetics and unusual effects everywhere has definitely been a sight for sore eyes. But the biggest reason is something I'm not seeing nearly enough people mention. All talk. In every classified server, or at least every server I've played on, your voice is broadcasted to everyone else in the server, including players on the other team. This completely transforms the energy of the server. With all talk enabled, the people on your team and the people that are killing you are all your friends. Bitter enemies feel more like friendly rivals. You can already get a little bit of this feeling through team scrambles, but all talk really seals the deal. There have been so many times where I die and start feeling annoyed, but then some funny exchange over voice pulls me right out of that self-pity sinkhole.
Get that shit. Aww.
There have been so many times where I pull off some crazy stunt and already feel great, but then the person I just dunked on goes nuts over VC and makes the moment feel a million times better. Since there aren't any truly degenerate weapons, spirits remain high all throughout the game. It feels natural to gas up the guy that just killed you because the vast majority of the time, yeah, they got you fair and square.
He's been AFK like the entire game. Oh, there he is.
Oh wait, he's back. Oh, he got him. Wait. Oh, the comeback. Retrograde amnesia. Oh my god.
And when everyone's having fun playing together, they feel more comfortable being vulnerable, letting their guard down a bit. You see a lot more people shooting the shit in Classified, talking about their interests or doing stupid bits. Like, in this one server I was playing on, there were multiple people doing Smiling Friends impressions over voice.
Yeah, ever since he ate that weird kebab, he's been, I don't know, he's been weird.
He's been sort of lethargic, yeah.
Don't look at the files, hello.
They did this for 30 minutes straight. And I loved every second of it, because that's exactly my type of humor. But let's say you found it cringe, or annoying, or whatever. No problem. Leave that server and try out a different one. I've also played on servers where people are constantly trash-talking each other.
Ultra Chud had no clip and he still got killed, man. Fuck.
Wait, Ultra Chud died with no clip? Wait, Chud, you fucking died with no... Oh, bro. Yeah, hey.
Go hacking!
Did I win?
Check this out.
You're
Check this
hacking
out.
and you're still losing!
Don't like that either? No problem. I've also played on servers where voice chat's a bit quieter, with a mix of people commenting on the game and talking about mundane stuff, like what TV shows they like.
Because she
like-
ruins the fucking...
Like, how are you
Main
as
characters.
Skylar gonna tell everybody else around you that your do no wrong husband
behind you,
reputation
Heavy.
has
Spy
a
behind
fucking
you.
drug empire behind him?
Spot behind you, Heavy. Spot.
This is what TF2 was always meant to be. It is a chat room with guns. It's not just a game you play with your friends, but a game where you make your friends. Where hopping onto your favorite server is like going to a bar where everyone knows your name. Modern day matchmaking, tossing random people into a game, while undoubtedly convenient, does not facilitate making meaningful connections, because that's not how making friends works in the real world. We make friends the easiest when we're in spaces we can call home, among other people who also call that space home. Playing through casual gives me the same feeling I got being in those awkward icebreakers I had to do with my dormmates freshman year of college. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get along with any of these people. I feel hesitant to say much of anything. On the other hand, joining servers in Classified feels like checking out different clubs. These people aren't here at random. They're here because they like being here. So it's much easier to get a pulse on this group's culture. And if I jive with it, I'll feel way more comfortable joining in on the fun, even though these people are still strangers to me. Community servers in base TF2 can feel this way too, don't get me wrong. But it's mostly limited to rare hidden gems in a sea of meh. I don't feel a strong sense of culture in Uncletopia server number 12 compared to Uncletopia server number 3. If you feel like you were late to the party, like you missed out on the golden age of TF2, well, here's a little slice of it. give this mod a shot if you haven't already. And if someone on the dev team is watching this, my DMs are open if you want to pick my brain for ideas. I think I've got a pretty good understanding of Valve's missteps and missed opportunities over the years. As always, thanks for watching, and special thank you to my patrons.